Beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make sense. Hi everyone. Today we hear about Rowan's spiritual journey. I got to know Rowan about 3 or 4 years ago through the rooms of 12-step fellowships. I somehow just felt a connection with him, but due to us living in different regions, we hardly ever ran into each other. It was only at the recent fellowship convention that I managed to have a decent conversation with him. When he told me that he listens to podcasts, it was just obvious that I had to have him on Meet Me in the Field. As I hardly knew anything about Rowan, I was excited to hear about his journey. I was not disappointed at all. He's an interesting young man with a sharp wit and a great sense of humor. It was while I was editing our conversation that I again realized just how much I love a decent conversation with an interesting person. This podcast is supported by the First Layer, the 12-step workbook on working through the 12 steps in any addiction in 21 sessions. There's also a 24-day step coaching and counseling program available based on the First Layer. For more information in this regard, go to www.freddy.org.za and click through from the notices at the right of the homepage. I really enjoyed my time spent with Rowan. I'm sure you are going to as well. Sit back and enjoy. Good morning, Rowan. God, we sat chatting so much that we nearly forgot to do the recording. How are you doing?
I was wondering if we were on.
No, we are now officially on. Welcome to Meet Me in the Field. Thank you so much for coming through and talking to me.
Cool. Thanks for asking me.
When you said you had an exam tomorrow, that's why I said come through Wednesday, because I thought you're writing exam.
Yeah.
You look so young. How old are you?
I am young. I'm 26.
26?
Yes. 26 and a half.
That is so important.
Yeah.
I think once you reach 13, you can drop the halves.
Not for me.
You look really young, but you are lecturing as well. How often are you being confused as a student?
I'm not lecturing, I'm teaching. And that includes running some seminars which are put together by myself, and then I choose the assessments and the material. Okay. I'm not lecturing. How often am I confused with the student? I don't think enough about it. I mean, I'm just there. And I'm a student as well. Yes. Okay. So I'm both studying and doing that work.
So you told me earlier that there was a master's thesis.
Yes.
And is there going to be a PhD?
I'm going to apply for one.
Are you serious?
Ideally, I would
go big or go home.
Yeah, ideally I'd want to go overseas. Because the programs are fully funded. They're more rigorous, specifically in North America.
Okay. So that's where you're aiming, North America?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But I always wonder, like, as a 26-year-old, I have sponsees, right?
Yeah.
And I have people who ask me what they should do in situations, who are, I mean, in some cases, nearly twice my age. And I'm like, I often sit there and I'm like, why? I mean, you're really fucked if you're asking me what you should do, you know?
I hear you.
So it's just funny.
You have a voice, but you don't know whether you should use it in that situation.
I think there are some things that I will say. And there's some things that I will say because I've got experience with them. Yeah. But there are other things that I say, go speak to my sponsor. You know, go speak to that person. Because I know people who have experience in different areas. Yes. And so, I mean, partly as a result of, you know, going through a 12-step process and then coming to an understanding of my limitations as much as I possibly can, and then recognizing other people have great experience to lean on.
It's part of a huge process of knowing ourselves when we know what we know and know what we don't know. Yeah. And to be okay to express that. Yeah. The important thing is here, in a way, I won't say we take responsibility for somebody else's lives, but we know that we play a huge part in somebody else's life. So it's a responsible thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still, especially when clients walk out here, think, shit, did I say the right thing? And normally before I see a client pray, just ask my higher power to guide me. So afterwards I always think, but I was guided in that direction. So it came out for a reason. So 26-year-old and you're Capetonian.
Yes, I am. I was born in Port Elizabeth. I moved here
The friendly city.
when I was 2.
Okay, so you never experienced the friendliness.
Yeah, no, I've never experienced Port Elizabeth. I've never experienced any other South African city past the age of 13.
Okay.
So most of my adolescent life and adult life has been in Cape Town. I did spend 3 years living in Oxford in the UK.
Serious?
3.5 years, from 2008 to 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Studying there?
2007. No, my mother was studying there, and then I finished my schooling there.
Oh, fantastic.
So it was a
Oxford,
it was a great
what a
experience.
fabulous place to
Yes,
be.
yeah.
Is that where your love for English was cemented, if I can put it that way?
That was my grandmother, I think. My grandmother, she passed away 2004, and she was a teacher, as my grandfather was a teacher. Actually, my grandfather was principal at various times in Grahamstown at some schools there. My grandmother, she taught me, read to me, and instilled both the love of Jesus and literature into me. Although I don't love Jesus, but she tried to drum that into
She
me.
tried her best.
You know, did.
Okay, so grandmother played a huge role in your life. What did mother study?
My parents are both medical doctors.
Okay.
Most of their work is in public health and various areas of public health, but that's what they studied.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you consider going into medicine at all?
I didn't consider going to university because I was very high most of the time in school.
So you were high enough.
Yeah.
You didn't need the social status of DR in front of your name because you were already
a high degree. No.
So did you start using at a young age?
Yeah, I started smoking weed when I was, for the first time, probably when I was 12 and drinking 11. And it just kind of continued and escalated from there. So I remember I went to England and there was a 3-week period where I said, okay, I wasn't going to smoke, I wasn't going to drink. And then obviously I found somebody to smoke and drink with, you know.
As invariably happens.
But it's strange, like even then I was like, okay, I know this is not good for me. I should probably stop. But I mean, I was just like, I was 15, you know.
Yeah.
I was enjoying myself. I was 15 years old. I didn't understand yet at that point how much smoking and drinking had affected my life. And then obviously it snowballed over the next couple of years.
Have you seen those brain scans of the normal brain versus the dope addict's brain?
No, I have
Oh
not.
my god, the dope addict brain looks like a fucking Swiss cheese. There's these holes. And then you see the coke addict's brain as well. It's just as bad. So I wonder what my brain really looks like.
Interesting.
The fact that I have a very, very bad memory, but the fact that I still remember something is a fucking miracle.
Yeah, that's...
It's really amazing.
Yeah. I think also being on the internet all the time has not helped my memory.
Digital cocaine.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I am a millennial, and I think we had the 56k dial-up was the first experience of the internet at my house. So going from there to when I was in England, just being able to download a full movie in 10 minutes. You know?
Heaven, I'm in heaven.
I've grown up with the internet very much, and I think it's definitely had an effect on the way I think.
Yeah.
Both positive and negative. Negative possibly in terms of constantly looking for things to ping my attention span.
Okay. It's quite amazing, the modern website.
Yeah.
How that freaks me out. I hate these busy websites that people have. I can't concentrate on everything that happens on the page at the same time. If you look at my website, my professional one, it is straightforward, no moving parts, no different screens. It's just straightforward. And that was the first thing when I said to my husband, when he said, how do you want your site to look? I said, not busy. Because the minute I go to the website and there's too much happening, I close it because I don't know where to concentrate.
The busy ones are for me with my squirrel brain.
So you just scan all over the bloody place.
Yeah.
So how did you find the difference between the education system in South Africa at the age of 15 and the UK?
There was a lot more order here. I went to a boys' school, traditional boys' school, and there was a lot of order there. You got your blazers, your ties, you don't take your tie. Like just basic things like the uniform. Whereas in England, the first school I went to did have a sport-like uniform. But, I mean, school started at 9.
Oh, Hallelujah.
Ended at 3. There were large breaks. I went there to do my GCSEs while I was there, which is the qualification that people can do and then leave school.
Okay.
And then you can, if you want, do an additional 2 years of study.
Was that you do at 16, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the additional 2 years of study will enable you to go into university.
Okay.
For the most part.
And you did that?
I did that as well, yes. But the GCSEs, it was at a smaller school, it was a private school there. And I did really well. And the teachers would often remark upon my behavior as exemplary because of the background that I came from in terms of schooling. We called the teachers by their first names. So it was a very progressive type of school. And obviously that flattens the hierarchy a bit as well. I mean, it's weird going from an environment where everybody who's older than 30 is, or older than 35 is potentially uncle or aunt, right? And then you go to an environment where you're calling someone who's just about to retire Mike. It's very strange.
So you mentioned that grandma tried to instill one thing successfully in you and the other one not. So I gathered that.
So she was successful on both counts. Just one of them has lasted longer.
Okay, cool. So you smoked and drank the other one away.
I think I found that sex was pleasurable, and then I had to kind of weigh out the earthly pleasures of sexuality versus the heavenly promise. You know?
So what they actually refer to is instant gratification. Exactly. You were just not willing to wait for heaven.
No, I was not.
As easy as that. You found heaven on earth.
I've barely learned recently that there are long-term things to consider. This is a recent development for me. So back then, I was just like... I also didn't like the guilt that came with trying to hold to a religious belief. Let's say this. The religion that I experienced, both from my mother's side and my grandmother's side through my father, because that line was Anglican, and the line from my mother was a home church. In very many ways, it's similar to 12-step fellowships where it's kind of egalitarian. Of course, you can only kind of share your experience if you've been baptized.
Okay.
But they meet in homes. They every quarter have mini conventions, and every year have a convention where the preachers or the missionaries that go around spreading their version of the gospel come and kind of take the convention. But otherwise, it's the head of the house whose home it's been hosted in, and they kind of facilitate the agenda, whether it's a specific passage in the Bible, or hymns, etc. And it is fucking boring, right? So it's so boring. And then I go to my father's church, which is an Anglican church. They've got guitars, the preacher is golf shirt, jeans, sneakers, seems like a cool guy. And they have Sunday school, so I get to essentially hang out with children my age and play. I did a lot of Bible study as a kid. I read the Bible a lot. I prayed a lot. I gave my life to Jesus I can't remember the exact details. I remember the feeling of euphoria that came with saying, take my life.
Yeah.
Take control of my life. That sort of sense of being filled up with an energy that I hadn't felt before, to me was an exceptionally powerful experience.
Okay. How old were you about now?
11.
Okay. So that's late primary school.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's several things that happened at that time. I moved from a small Christian school to the boys' school.
Okay.
And that was an adjustment. I can't remember if it was 6 months before, 6 months later, I moved houses. Okay. My grandmother got ill at that time, and she passed away 3 years later. So, my math isn't that great, so anyway. And so
I'm with you on that one.
There was a lot happening there. Discovering masturbation, for instance. Discovering
security blanket.
Yes, I mean, discovering sexuality. Like, I definitely think for me, my early experiences of sexuality were both exploration and curiosity, as well as escape.
Okay.
Because of my understanding of the purpose of any type of sexuality, as taught to me through my religion, from both sides of those traditions, there was a lot of guilt involved, and
I'm shaking my head rigorously.
A lot of shame involved.
Absolutely.
And secrecy.
Yeah, I'm with you on all of those.
But I mean, that's the thing. When you find something that it feels good, well, for me, I found it felt good. Then my feelings about it made it difficult, and so I had to split myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm experiencing, and I couldn't reconcile both the feeling of religious guilt and the good feelings of sexuality, and also the burgeoning curiosity. And my education from sexuality came from other boys my age or a little bit older, which included accessing pornography, and they received that from other people. You know, so I definitely know that secrecy and risk is something that is fun.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, a lot of my sexual behavior over the last 10, 15 years has been secretive and risky at times.
Yes.
You know, and upping the risk is also upping the excitement.
Yeah.
And
I can identify with the secrecy thing, definitely.
Yeah.
Ugh. This little gay heart hiding everything I did because I was so afraid somebody was going to find it out. Oh my God, it was awful.
I mean, so for me, I'm not really sure, and I've tried to figure out, was it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's like more of an academic question. The fact is, definitely having some sexual curiosity for both women and men. And so the fear of anyone finding out any sexuality, but specifically any homosexuality, was definitely a defining factor in the way I express my sexuality over the next 10 years.
Okay.
Again, in secrecy. So my favorite song was Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody. And my grandmother would say, don't listen to that devil music. Because at the time, and it was a resurgence of what happened 20 years earlier, if you play the song backwards, you know, like all that stuff, it just keeps recurring. Every time the church feels like it's losing hold, it just recycles these old narratives. Right?
Were you old enough to remember an Afrikaans singer called Bless Bridges?
No, I've only heard about him subsequently.
We always joked and said if you play his songs backwards, you get Potjie Kos Recepte. Okay, so at what stage did the break happen for you? Teenage years, it sounds?
Yeah, early teenagers. 11, 12. Okay. And then my grandmother passed away, and I was very resentful. My grandmother played a massive role in raising me while my parents were working on their careers.
Yeah.
And she was also very accessible. She was, 5 roads away.
Okay.
That split happened, just the number of things happened. I started swearing for the first time. There were many new experiences for me. I'd never really been as aware of racial categories as I was when I went to that school, because it was a predominantly white school.
Yeah.
Whereas the school I came from was predominantly colored school.
Okay.
That's when all of these things started. My place in the social world, my place in... questioning my sexuality, the loss of my grandmother, and just a number of other things, like eating a lot of sweets predominantly, and being on the chubby end throughout most of my childhood.
Okay.
That was now more of an issue than it had been previously. And then also I went from a small school where I was academically one of the best, and sporting-wise, I was playing in the first team when I was in grade 5 for the grade 7s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a tiny school. It was like 200 people. Okay. And the school was from grade 1 to 12. So it was really small.
Okay. Whoa.
And then I go to this massive school where there's 120 people in my grade.
Yeah.
Where I'm in the D team for all sports. and then all this other stuff is going on. That really was a time of major adjustments. And I remember I went for a brain scan at one point because I was starting to have these kind of hallucinations, and there was a lot of psychological stress that I was going through and wasn't really able to cope, and kind of resulted in me finding friends who were outcasts and hanging out with them, and then over time smoking and drinking and escaping into sexual fantasy, but also escaping I loved reading. Probably what I've questioned why I've done English literature. It exercises the analytical and the fantasy part of my mind, but
reading for me as well. I loved. My mother always used to say that I go into eensame opsluiting. If I had a good book, you will not see me. I virtually had to be coaxed out of the bedroom with God knows what, but I could forget to eat. It was just not important. I didn't want to leave that bubble of the fantasy of the world that I was in. You came back to South Africa when you came to varsity?
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting story though. I wasn't sure I was going to go to varsity. I wanted to do sound engineering because you can smoke all the weed that you want. And drink, and
you had the perfect motivation for your study choice.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just to backtrack a bit, in England, I started smoking more. I became more aggressive. I became a nightmare at home. Eventually, my mother when I admitted to her that I was smoking and I was going to do it, it was like, I'm smoking and there's nothing you can do about it. I think she contacted the school, and the school was like, look, you need to go to this drugs group or you can't stay here. And at the time, I started...
You need to go to the what?
Drugs group. The school had a drugs group. And that was the first time I got introduced to...
Heavier drugs.
No.
Because that's normally what happens.
No, it was the first time I got introduced to... There was a weird... I remember, my friend was chopping up lions, right? And he was like, do you want some? And I was like, no. Part of me then knew that if I took that then, it was tickets. And I know that wouldn't have lasted forever, but that was, for me, I think about that as a defining moment for me, because I knew then that there was only one way.
Yeah. I had the same. I was offered a tick once, and something in me said no.
Yeah, he was chopping up speed.
And I just know that I would have died. So there was a guard looking after me. My mother always said your guardian angel works overtime. So my guardian angel that day was kind of no. So I was so grateful for that.
Yeah, me too. So when that was happening, and obviously I spent all the money I had, and I went to family and I borrowed all the money I could, and then the dealers at school would give me stuff on credit. The dealer
at school.
Yeah, there was one at school. Well, there were several at school. But
okay. You were in a fabulous school.
The real story is that it was the second best school in the district.
Oh my God.
It's the best public school in Oxford. Its final results are better than the private school that I got a scholarship to.
Oh, right? Wow.
Which I didn't take because I wanted to smoke weed at the public school with all my friends. They lent me stuff, and then I started to give it to my friends and then try to make money that way, but I was smoking all of the shit, so that didn't work out. From where I was to where I ended up at the end of school, it was just remarkable how everything and all the decisions that I made were the right decisions at the time in my head.
Okay, yes.
It made complete sense.
Yeah.
I'm smoking so much, my friends smoke, I'll sell to them.
Yes.
It just makes sense to me. Yeah, it should. It's sound business sense. So I go to the one dealer, borrow from him, and then so I could pay back the other dealer. And at the time, regarding my sexuality, I was very much split. So in the day I'd be doing this, and then in the night I'd be looking for people online, often looking for men. So I had this persona in the daytime, and I had this persona in the nighttime.
Oh my word.
And these two people were running concurrently to one another. I was also high as fuck all the time. And if I couldn't get high, I would drink. And I was also making music at the time, so there were some good things. There were some good elements, hence the sound engineering.
Okay.
And my friends, the people that I was making music with, they're not doing pretty well in the UK. But that was my life during that time. So a lot of online sex seeking, and the first time that I had sex was with somebody who I met through online.
Okay.
I mean, at the time I was just driven by the desire to have sex. Looking back on it now, I mean, a number of terrible things could have happened.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that the person that I met online was also looking for a meeting with somebody.
So again, your guardian angel was working overtime.
I mean, there's just so many horror stories.
The fact that I haven't been mugged, arrested, or whatever is just an absolute miracle.
But it's just like one of those examples for me where all my thinking was clouded by my desire to get high.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing else mattered. The risk was also nice. Like I like risk. All of that was it was a life for me. It was secrecy. There was just resentment against mostly my family, but it was misdirected. It was just me and being uncomfortable with me. It was very uncomfortable yet projected a sense of security and
it sounds as if you did quite well academically.
I did.
So through all the smoking, the online seeking, the music making, the sport playing, when the fuck did you study?
I didn't. I chose.
And you still did well at school.
I chose subjects that I was intuitively capable at. I didn't take any science subjects. I didn't take any subjects where I thought that I had to do a lot of work, but more so where I thought that I couldn't succeed.
Okay.
So much of my motivation for taking English and for taking it at a university level was I was fearful of doing things that I couldn't succeed at, so I chose English and philosophy. Those were my two majors. I love the subjects.
Okay.
But definitely part of the motivations for doing that was I had I was adept at them at some level.
Okay.
Yeah.
A while ago I was contemplating doing a further degree, and I got my study record from Rowan.
Yeah.
And I looked at this, and there were subjects that I couldn't remember having taken. not just contents of subjects. And oh my God, I can't remember having done philosophy at varsity. So then one day my husband said to me, "What did you do in philosophy?" I could not remember one thing.
Yeah.
I remember that we went for a Sunday night braai to the lecturer once.
They're important.
That's it. Now you come back to South Africa to study, and you are not... So you're not religious, but being into philosophy, was there a part of spirituality?
I'm leaving out a fairly large chunk in England. When I was high, I would read the Quran. I would read the Bible. I was constantly looking for a way to stop feeling both in terms of sexuality and also in terms of just the dread that comes with getting up every day and wanting to use, and that's it.
So you're looking for some form of meaning, some form of guidance.
So the drugs group that I went to, the man there was a member of NA.
Okay.
Took me to an NA meeting. I went very high, never went back. He then took me to a sweat lodge. There are many different Native American groups, but broadly speaking, one of the spiritual practices that people have taken from their traditions and taken across the world is this idea of going to sit in a tent with hot rocks and putting water in it and then just kind of sweating
out.
And I mean, there are other elements of the practice that I can't remember. Okay. But it included sharing.
Okay.
You know? If I wasn't smoking, I was drinking. Okay. If I was drinking, I was smoking. Like, there's a combination. But I was constantly looking for some sort of spiritual path, I guess. And I used to get high and think that I was communicating with some spiritual essence or whatever. Well, I was constantly looking for that. I mean, maybe... I do think that parts of it fulfilled that need.
Okay.
For some period of time. But... obviously, you know, it's not sustainable. So I was looking for a spiritual path, and when I came here to South Africa again, I didn't smoke as much, but I drank a lot more.
Okay.
And it was coming to a point where my parents didn't want me at home. I felt every time that I was getting high that maybe this would be the time that I would finally hear things and hear voices and lose my mind so I could have the courage to take my life. Like that's where my mind was at. And one day I remember I got up and I said I wasn't going to use, and then it was like 15 minutes later and I was high and I was just like...
That sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
Today, no. Fuck it. Tomorrow.
You know, whether I was happy, whether I was sad, whether it was sunny, whether it was raining, doesn't matter. So I asked my father to come get me, and I was just like, I need help.
So there's now first year varsity, second year,
first year
varsity.
So I hung out with the Hare Krishnas that year in the beginning of the year, and also I did ancient Greek. I failed the course, obviously, because you had to learn for it. But I did ancient Greek with the intention of reading the Bible in its original form.
Oh my word!
Right?
So you were definitely searching.
Absolutely.
So you ended up with a head full of knowledge.
Yes, absolutely.
But with a heart not connecting with it?
I mean, I wouldn't even say the sieve of my brain was full of knowledge at that time, but I definitely had read some things and thought I knew more than I knew.
Okay.
And even that was disconnected from how I felt. Because I felt dread most of the time.
Yeah.
I felt desperation. I was ruled by my need to satisfy whatever obsession I had.
Yes.
You know, I was ruled by resentment, I was ruled by fear, I was ruled by guilt, I was ruled by shame. Most of my actions were determined by those emotions, those feelings, yeah.
So in your first year, you got help for the drug problem?
Yes.
Were you a treatment baby, or did you just connect with NA? Or?
I connected with NA.
Okay.
I refused to go to treatment. I was like, there are real drug addicts there. You know, I don't want to catch something.
God forbid.
And I mean, I intended to stop for a while. Did not intend to stop. Full stop.
Okay.
It was only through getting a sponsor and working steps that I realized just how powerless I was.
How fucked up things were.
What powerless was. Like, I heard it's like I'm powerless over. I'm like, I don't get that. A disease, like, I mean, come on, my family of doctors, like, I know what a fucking disease is.
Yeah.
You know, and the religious language threw me, because I mean, while I was looking for some spiritual path, I wasn't wedded to Christianity anymore.
Okay.
I'd left that had sailed a while before.
Yeah.
I think what really helped me see just how fucked I was a good sponsor, somebody who also smoked weed primarily, and very similar backgrounds. You know, very, very similar backgrounds.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So that classic one addict helping another.
Yeah.
That absolute identification.
Yeah.
Between two people.
And it comes back to what I was saying earlier about talking to people twice my age and being, you need to go speak to somebody else about this issue, because I don't have that experience, and I can't help you with the solutions that I used.
Absolutely. All we ever had is our own experience, strength and hope.
Yeah.
Now you enter a 12-step program and you read step 2 and you read step 3, and did the God thing freak you out, or did you connect with of your understanding, or what happened?
I had to park my suspicions, right?
I love the way you say that. I had to park my suspicions.
I had to leave them in the parking lot, go into the meeting, and then come out.
Okay.
And in many ways, I suspend my disbelief.
Okay.
When it comes to any of the God steps. Because this is just me, it's hard for me not to read 12-step literature in different fellowships and not see the core influences of the monotheistic faith, namely Christianity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea of character defects, for example, roughly translates to the 7 deadly sins.
I had a sponsor once who said to me, my second NO sponsor, he said to me, okay, so let's do step 6 and 7. I want you to categorize your character defects into the 7 deadly sins. And I kind of, what?
Yeah.
It was just, I felt sick when I started doing it.
Yeah.
And I did it because my sponsor said I had to do it. And it was a very good exercise and I got a lot out of it, but not again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I mean, the religious undertones of the fellowships depend upon the meetings, the people in the meetings. So my first round of steps was using the big book, and the big book is very Christian.
Yeah.
And when people say you can kind of maneuver your way around the Christian aspect, or at least the monotheistic aspect, or you have to subscribe on some level to a belief in a power greater than yourself, because no human power can remove
exactly
that third they have those three things. Three pertinent ideas that no human power could relieve, etc., etc. Okay, so no human power, for me, I did those steps first, and I mean, I've always struggled with that. For me, the group has helped me. My experiences have helped me, like in terms of having a powerful sense of being unburdened, like just letting go of all the emotional baggage that I was carrying, right?
What an amazing thing.
That those experiences are so powerful for me. I don't attribute them to kind of a deity. So when I attribute it to the process of meeting with people and the identification and being honest and applying these principles. I think there's something very real about the principles. Like if you don't tell lies, your life doesn't become complicated.
Yes.
Very straightforward.
That was possibly one of the most amazing feelings. Starting to speak the truth and not having to remember what you said to whom.
Yeah.
The amount of mind space lies took up. I never realized that.
Yeah.
Just that I never realized how much mind space fantasy took up in my head.
Yeah.
The day that I started doing complete abstinence, I was going to freak out. What was going on in my head? There was this space, there was this time that I didn't know how to fill.
Yeah.
It was freaky.
Yeah.
I did some research on the 12 steps for the second book that I'm busy writing. And a while ago, not too long ago, now I can't remember, but they auctioned Bill W.'s original notes on the big book.
Yeah.
And the feedback, the notes that the people made. And he was going straight forward for the God concept.
Yes.
And it was thanks to the other fellows who said that he's going to alienate so many people that they convinced him to bring in the of your understanding part.
Yeah.
And that as you understand it part saved my life. So thank God to those people who had that foresight, or I would have been fucked.
Yeah. So I think there was definitely, because I was broken inside and I felt fragmented. People talk about the gift of desperation, God. It definitely helps me.
Sorry, it never dawned on me.
Yeah, I heard it a while ago, and then...
How could that not have clicked yet?
Yeah.
Gift of desperation. Okay, well, this is now what you call an aha-erlebnis.
Yeah, but I mean, even in that acronym, you see people struggling with the idea of God, right? Gift of desperation.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the joke is no one finds God when they won the lottery and everything's going great. Well, very few people. So again, like I'm not anti-religious, insofar as I'm working with people in the 12 steps that have a very firm concept of what God means to them, a religious concept, and it's fine. If it works for you, then you can use it.
Absolutely.
But I recently went to a secular AA meeting. I don't know if you've heard about secular AA.
No.
I'm not here to evangelize, because I went to one meeting and I found it a bit strange. Just because it was unfamiliar, it was fairly unstructured, and so it didn't have all the rituals that the average meeting has.
Okay.
In terms of reading specific passages, saying the Serenity Prayer. It didn't say the Serenity Prayer. And apparently secular AA movement is quite big over the world. But...
So do we have one of those in Cape Town?
There's one in Cape Town. There's two in Joburg. One just opened in Soweto. So the movement seems to be gaining some traction.
Okay.
I was listening to a secular Buddhist podcast, and the person was interviewing a man who does Buddhist approach to the 12 steps. So without a belief in God, right, as like an entity. So it seems like there are many people who are taking the 12-step model and removing the God out of the model. So obviously I've been doing a lot of research and looking at this God thing. And for me, it has to be authentic for me. A lot of recovery for me and a lot of the 12-step fellowship is about learning to be myself and matching my values with my outside. So talking about honesty earlier, at work at the moment, there are a lot of political games being played, and I have to be true to myself.
Yeah.
Even if the games being played are testing my allegiances to my supervisor, or etc.
Okay, yeah.
So
stand in integrity.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's so much easier to lie and manipulate than to actually stand in integrity.
No, I mean, eventually it just catches up.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I learned through this process. Just how much lying led me to using and led me to acting out. But I mean, on the God question, it did freak me out, and I tried to make as much accommodation for people in my life who believe in God and don't believe in God. But I mean, there's certain things I just can't get on board with.
Yeah.
Like when you say that an earthquake happened because the people were sinning there, I'm like, I just can't get on board with that belief.
Definitely not. Yeah. As things stand today, what would you say you believe in? What is Rowan's sense of spirit?
My relationships with people.
Okay. Connection.
And and I find when I meditate, my sense of belonging in the world is not constantly threatened.
Okay. So you're a regular meditator.
I would lie to you if I said I'm a regular meditator.
And seeing that you're talking about honesty and integrity, you can't.
Yes. I meditate infrequently. I spend a lot of time focusing on my breathing and just centering myself. I consider that kind of a form of meditation.
Yeah.
I spend enough time doing martial arts, which I find really help clear my mind.
Okay.
And also there's something about them that limits my ability to think, because I have to be there.
Okay. Which form of martial art do you do?
I started doing Tai Chi 5 years ago.
Okay.
I did that for 2.5 years. I also, when from about 16, I became really interested in martial arts. But recently it was a Tai Chi, then I did Muay Thai for a while, for about a year, and I'm doing Jiu-Jitsu at the moment. There's just like an hour a day where I get to go and switch off and be there and learn and exercise.
So there you truly have to be present.
Yeah, otherwise you get hit in the face.
Yeah. not being present can really hurt.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a form of meditation. It's bringing you in this moment, centered. Yeah. Not a hell of a difference between meditation and that.
I mean, where my spirit lies is, I do think that when it comes to, for me, anything spiritual, it needs to be something tangible or practical, not tangible necessarily. And so talking to another person about what's going on for me in my mind, writing down whatever I'm struggling with, if it's according to a set questions or if it's just like free writing, and then talking to somebody about it, are very practical and tangible things that have helped me and continue to help me. And also talking to other people about experiences I've had that they're going through and how I've navigated that, and also all the mistakes that I've made and continue to make. Those to me are the core practices of what I consider my spiritual life.
Awesome. And music, is that still part of your life?
Fear is inhibiting my creative spirit coming out, but I'm going to the UK soon, so hopefully.
Oh yes, you're going next week.
Is it next week? Could be next week.
Yeah.
What's the date today? 11th. So the week after next.
Okay.
Hopefully that seeing my friends and being there,
will connect you to that.
Puts me back into that environment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Because what did you do music-wise? Did you play or did you write electronic?
I grew up playing the piano and singing, but the music that we made was hip-hop music. So I would write, rap, and then sing as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. The gift of desperation will not be happy for you hiding the talent.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I can't stand it when people have musical talents and they're not using it, because my whole heart, I would love to be musical. I would love to be able to sing, and I can't do that stuff.
Yeah.
And it freaks me out if people can do it and they don't.
I mean,
so it's all about me. Start doing your music again.
I'll do it for you.
Make me happy.
Yeah. I mean, just also what I found is that because I'm not being ruled by resentment and fear, except for music, and guilt and shame so much, so many opportunities have opened up for me to engage with people, engage with things like my studies, and my focus is just turned elsewhere. Because a lot of my music making was invested in a lifestyle of using.
Yeah.
A lifestyle of looking a certain way, of being hyper masculine, of being the main guy. And because I'm not invested in that now, I'm struggling to figure out what it is that I want to put into it, because I don't just want to do it for the sake of doing it. It doesn't ring true for me right now. The input that I want to give to it. I'm working on practicing again, the craft, and then seeing where that takes me.
You know what freaks me out is, as you can see, I work from home. There's no music playing in the background, so my days are relatively quiet, except for the outside noises. But when I'm in the car, which I don't travel a lot because I work from home, so I don't hear a lot of music. So, but when I'm in the car, I'm on KFM.
Okay.
And I'm very happy that I don't hear a lot of music, because music, frankly, freaks me out. Lyrics like, don't hate me because I'm beautiful. I love you because you're beautiful. Have you listened to the lyrics of music? The falseness that being created, it freaks me out. Okay, I am double your age, but music videos. Since when do we have to get naked to be able to sing? When did that happen?
The 90s, probably. Although, I mean, if you think about Madonna as a cultural icon, like schoolgirl aesthetic, it's not that recent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just, I'm not sure. But I am very selective about what I listen to.
Okay.
I'm also very selective about what I watch. Because, I mean, there's so many series that are, their audience trades on, their bloodlust, really. Their bloodlust and lust.
Yeah.
It's just sex. It's basically porn and blood.
Yes.
So I'm very selective about what I watch and what I listen to.
Yeah.
I don't listen to radio, for instance.
Okay.
Mostly podcasts, some music. Sometimes I listen to Meet Me in the Field.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if you've heard
That's a
about
very
it.
nice one, I heard.
Yeah.
I hear it's moving up the charts at a rapid speed.
Yeah. Selling your podcast on the podcast. Okay. Yeah, I'm very selective about what I listen to.
And the way I look at it is, if we're dealing with authenticity and integrity, then there's a lot out there that doesn't fit into that spectrum of our lives, or the life that I want for myself, which means I have to disregard a lot. Once that book is finished, that I'm busy writing at the moment, which might just be this week, is I actually want to take a week of listening to music and recording the lyrics that I found feeds bad body image, addiction, obsessive thinking, codependence. Every single fucking second song begs of you to be codependent. We are breeding a nation of fuck-ups. On the one hand, I should be grateful because that feeds my business. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to write that podcast.
I mean, you've got good motivation.
Yes, good motivation
for not doing it.
Yes. But it really freaks me out. I feel so sorry for your generation of people. I think it's so much more difficult to be authentic now with media and everything out there. It frankly scares me, a lot of music lyrics I hear, a lot of the advertisements I see.
Yeah.
It really scares me. It's kind of, I'm so grateful that I'm at a phase where I don't have to be influenced by those.
Yeah. And I mean, your choice not to be influenced by them is becoming increasingly more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have television, for instance. You can hear there's no music playing in the house.
Academia seems to allow for isolation. It always is a shock at how, when I get out of the house or I get out of working and I meet people, I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like to talk to people. I can go days on end without talking to people just because I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
You know.
But working on your master's thesis also must have kept you in your head a lot.
It does. And look, even the discussion we've had now, a lot of my ability to park my suspicions about God or the experience, it's filtered through this constant thinking about. My biggest struggle is probably when it comes to my spiritual practices is just trying to take that sense of being present into my daily life. But I'm getting better at it.
Practice makes perfect.
I'm getting better at it. What's great about taking inventory about how things are going is that I really know what periods, what journeys, and which spaces in my life are going to be the most difficult to navigate.
Okay.
So I know when I go to a board meeting, I'm going to have to deal with people that irritate me.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm at home, I'm going to have to deal with maybe activities that are irritating me because I'm trying to concentrate or whatever it is. Or if I go to a classroom, I know that I'm going to have to field people's questions or maybe acknowledge my limitations as a scholar because I can't possibly know everything. It's very much, my life is very structured, and so it helps a lot in terms of my spirit. I very much feel my spiritual life is real in a sense that it's all about the practices that I do every day.
But there's one thing that keeps me sane as well is it freaks my husband out because even though I work at home, I'm at my desk at 9. I have tea at 11. I have lunch at 1. I follow a very strict routine. And trying to finish a book, I also allocate a certain time of day for writing. But Rowan, this was really absolutely wonderful. I really, really appreciate this.
Cool.
That's the thing I enjoy about Meet Me in the Field is every person has his story. And I just find it so lovely to sit down and to put that story into a context of something which I use spirituality as the context that I use to talk to people. But I really loved chatting to you. Thank you so very much. Something I forgot to ask you, which came up a lot, was, are you the only child?
I'm not.
Okay.
I have a younger brother, who in many respects is just far better than I am. And I've spent a lot of time working through that jealousy.
Okay.
Today we have a fantastic relationship.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How much younger is he?
4 years.
4 years, okay.
3 years and 10 months.
So he's studying at the moment as well?
He is.
Cool.
To be a doctor.
Oh, God.
You see what I'm dealing with?
Yes, no. Resentment.
This guy.
There's no doubt in my mind that you could have become one as well if you wanted to.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
And I always say that I know that if I put my mind to something, I can reach it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm one of those people who don't prefer to put my mind to it. I'm very limited where I put my mind to.
I mean, there's still hope though. When World War III comes around, they'll need people. They'll need medics. I'll be a doctor. It will work out.
I hear you. Awesome. Listen, this was lovely. Have a wonderful day.
Cool. Thanks, Freddie.
We had a few great laughs during our chat. I always say that I truly believe that we do not get clean and sober to sit in a dark room and be clean and sober. We are meant to live life and enjoy it while we are at it. Rowan is a shining example of how living clean allows us to strive towards goals and get to experience life. It is fun to hear how he searched for a sense of belonging and meaning in life, but how he found it when he asked for help and stopped searching. Sometimes we just have to stop seeking and allow what we are supposed to have to catch up with us. I want to congratulate Rowan on obtaining his master's degree. He must have received his results by now, and I wish him all of the best on his quest to obtain his PhD in English. If you want to know more about what I do, please feel free to connect with me on my website, which is www.freddy.org.za, or find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/freddy.org.za, or on Twitter at @RensburgFreddy. Remember that Freddy is always spelled with an IE at the end. I want to thank you for listening. Be safe. Bye.